Good afternoon, everybody. This is Patricia Potter with Kirklin Solutions. This is the Society of Thoracic Surgeons August 27th Intermacs and Pedimacs User Group webinar. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I am going to go ahead and get started here. If you have any questions during today's webinar that you would like to have answered, you can put those in the Q&A box. So today on the call from the STS team, we have Nancy Honeycutt, we have Emily Conrad, and we have Banu. And then from the Intermacs Data Warehouse team at Kirklin Solutions, we have John Pennington, Brandon Singletary, and then we do have two members of our Intermacs and Pedimacs core group joining us on the panel side today. We have Neelam and Sylvia. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. So today's webinar, I'm just going to go through a few STS updates, talk a little bit about AQO that will be coming up here in just about a month, and then we'll have some time for open discussion, some Q&A. So if you have any questions you'd like to have answered, again, put them in the Q&A box, not the chat box. So we're going to start off here with just a polling question. We're planning for AQO that's September 23rd. It's a virtual meeting, and we are having a new data manager session at AQO. It's the first meeting of the day, and this meeting is going to be geared towards people who are relatively new to either Intermacs or Pedimacs, and just to give you all the education that you may need to get started to abstract for either of those registries. So we want to make sure that all of your questions are answered at that session. So if you have anything that you're hoping to hear about at that session, we are going to hear from you today, and we will make sure we have those answers for you. So if you're attending the new AQO Data Manager session at AQO, what questions do you have about the database that our presenters should address during the program? So we'll give you guys all a minute to think about that and put your answers in.
I can leave the poll open for a little bit
Okay.
if we need to move forward.
Okay.
I'll give people time to answer.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that, and you can just enter those answers as you have them. Last webinar, last month, we did another polling question to ask about what quality improvement projects you have done at your site. How did you use your Intermacs data? And excuse me, and what projects have you done? So we did get some feedback from all of you that participated. So thank you. That's super helpful. And that will help Nancy and I as we talk about what we want to do in 2026. We were able to have one quality webinar just in 2025, and it was really well received. And I think everybody really enjoyed hearing what that site was doing. So we hope to, have this kind of regularly in 2026. So her and I will talk about the feedback we got. But in the meantime, if you do have a project that you've done at your site using your Intermacs data, we'd love to hear from you. So you can reach out to Nancy or myself, and we would have you share on a webinar just like this. So we'd love to hear from you. Upcoming webinars, we have AQO coming up for Intermacs and Pedimacs on September 23rd. So we have canceled the September 24th webinar as some attendees will also be traveling for AQO in Texas. So we're not going to have an Intermacs Pedimacs call in September. Our next one will be in October. It will be October 29th at 1 p.m. Central. And that information is on the STS website, where you can get the link to log in, and you can also set up notifications for future webinars. So our next one will be October 29th. And then just a little bit of a reminder, the Q2 quarterly reports will be coming out next month on September 30th. That had a data entry deadline of July 1st. So those reports will be coming out September 30th. if you didn't get all your data in by July 1st for quarter two, that's okay. It will just appear on the quarter three. You'll see it on your quarter three report, which comes out just at the end of the year on December 31st. So just a couple of dates to remember. And then just an announcement about the Data Manager Collaborative. It used to be known as the Mentorship Program, and then the Data Manager Collaborative. STS has sunsetted this program. And we just wanted to thank everybody that's, participated in that program. Um, and if you are currently matched up with a mentor and a mentee, if you're currently matched up with somebody, you are, more than welcome to continue to meet with them, to share information, share education. It's just we're not going to be matching people up anymore, and we're going to move forward with connecting people through webinars, AQO. We also have the STS Data Managers Facebook group, which I do have a link for on the next slide. And yeah, so just thank you everybody for those that participated in it. And we will connect on our webinars and at AQO. We do have the STS Data Managers Facebook group, has quite a few members in it. So if you just scan that QR code, you can join the group, and that's also a great networking opportunity. We have AQO coming up September 23rd. Like I said, it's a live virtual forum. So it will be similar to one of these webinars. Our speakers will be here live. They will have their recorded talks given, and then they will be available for live questions and answers about the content they share in their presentations. It's a full day event dedicated exclusively to Intermacs and Pedimacs. That's what we'll be talking about all day long. There will be opportunity to possibly turn on your cameras, ask questions. It'll be very interactive. Like it will be a good networking opportunity. We're going to talk about reporting. We're going to talk about the dashboard. We're going to talk about upcoming edits to our adverse event forms. We have a presentation on that. We're going to talk about temporary devices, heart failure. Rama with Kirklin Solutions, he's going to give a talk on how the platform is going to be upgraded in 2026. And what that's going to look like and what new features will be available for data managers with that. Trying to think what else. We have some on-demand topics talking about preparing for a joint commission, a regulatory talk. We have a really great agenda. And so if you would like to join us and hear all of this content, you can go on the STS website. And if you go to For Data Managers on that page, there is information on how to register for AQO. So again, this is our agenda for AQO. The pricing, so after July 31st, the pricing did change from the early bird pricing. So for Intermacs and Pedimacs, you will want to buy the virtual pass plus the Intermacs virtual forum. And this will give you access to all of the live presentations that we're going to have on the 23rd. So all of those recordings of those talks. So if you can't attend live, you can obviously view them afterwards. It will give you access to all the on-demand talks that are for Intermacs and PDMacs, those recordings. And then it will also give you access to the recordings for the other databases. So if you abstract for adult cardiac surgery, general thoracic surgery, or congenital. So that would be the pass you want to buy if you want to attend Intermacs AQO. And then just a reminder, we do monthly data integrity checks. I know some of you get emails from me, just reminders if, to complete implant discharge forms. Sometimes you'll get an email from me if, you said the cause of death was maybe major bleeding, but a major bleeding form wasn't filled out. So we do look at the data monthly. And we also look at device brands. So when you select a device brand on the implant form, We're noticing that there are a few Brio VADs being entered into Intermacs, and I just wanted to remind everybody that the Innovate trial is going on. You'll probably be seeing it at your center. And that is a trial that is a randomized trial, the HeartMate 3 versus the Brio VAD. And just wanted to remind everybody that if you do have a patient who's been enrolled in the Innovate trial, we only are asking for the HeartMate 3s to be entered at this time. So if the patient does receive a randomized Brio VAD, that patient should not be enrolled into Intermacs yet. So just a reminder, just the HeartMate 3s. And then on the demographics form, we do have VAD study related questions. So if your patient does get the HeartMate 3, you would say, yes, the patient is involved in a VAD related study. The name of the study would be the Innovate trial. And then this is not an industry sponsored post approval study. So just a reminder on that, because we have seen a few Brio VADs entered. And if you think that maybe you entered one just by mistake, just reach out to myself or Nancy and we can go in and make that correction. So just a reminder for everybody, we had it on the announcement page for a little while, but then we changed it out to include some information about the new Coumadin fields. So just a reminder for everybody. And now I guess we're not gonna do any education today, just because I didn't want to overlap with anything that may be presented at AQO, from one of the presenters' talks. So we'll go ahead, we'll open it up. Nancy and I will answer your questions. We also have John Pennington on the line. He's does all the data management, and we have Brandon Singletary on the line who is recording and dashboard. So if you have any questions for any of us, you can go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. Do we have any questions yet? Let's see.
Not seeing any yet.
Or if you have any AQO questions or comments about AQO, something that you're hoping will be shared in any of those talks that I talked about, we'd love to hear from you. While we're waiting on that, I'll just put this up just for a little reminder of some important dates coming up.
It's a quiet group today.
I know it.
We have a
Oh,
question, Patricia.
okay. Yeah. Dee, thanks for joining. It can be confusing to know if a rehospitalization qualifies for an AE. Any insight is helpful. So yes, any hospital rehospitalization that occurs that the patient stays 24 hours or more. So even if they are in the ED for 26 hours, or if they are even inpatient, but they're coded as observation and they're there for 24 hours, we do ask that all rehospitalizations 24 hours or more be entered as an AE, whether it's related to the VAD or not. So even planned surgeries or anything like that, that is a hospitalization and the patient stays 24 hours. Yes, we do want you to capture those, even if it doesn't meet one of our Intermacs definitions for an AE, like if they're not there for bleeding or neurodysfunction, at least the rehospitalization form does need to be completed. Thanks, Cindy. Hi, Lori. I would like to be able to pull out data related to the quality of life surveys by patients completed and not completed. Is that possible to pull out of the database? So,
Yes.
yes. John, you want to take it, or I was
No, I
thinking
mean,
about the downloads. You go ahead.
you can. It doesn't matter. So there's a couple ways we do quarterly uploads of prepared research data sets that would include that quality of life data in the follow-up data set. There's trade-offs to that. Like we've prepped it, we've added intervals, we've done some calculations for you, but those data lag because we have, lag time for form data entry. So I would always recommend, if you're just trying to look at like one form, like if you really just want to look at follow-up QOL or pre-implant QOL, just go into your form data downloads, and that way it's up to the minute data, and it's by form, so it's all aggregated at least on the form level for you, and you can go in and look at that there. I think I know Devin does talks every AQO on that, so I'm sure there's some resources online for that. But also, like, if you can't find your data sets or can't find the live data download, you can always email me or email Patricia, and she could forward it to me. It doesn't matter to me.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Next question. If you have a HeartMate 3 to a HeartMate 3 exchange, both within a year, where can I find the data about 1 year survival statistics? Brandon or John, where would be the best for device exchanges?
Or I'm rereading. I was typing my email. The explant form would tell you exchanges, and you could look at the device brand, because there's a device brand field on the is there a device type? I'm trying to remember. I would look at the explant form for sure for exchanges. Brandon, jump in if you want to.
Yeah, unfortunately, all the reporting and dashboarding that we do, the outcomes are based off of their primary implant. We don't have anything based off of their secondary devices at an exchange. So that would be something that, like John mentioned, we want to look at your live data download and do something in regards to that.
Yeah, you can also, so typically when people are looking at patients and those quarterly data sets I talked about, they look at the patient data set because it's like one row per patient. There's also a device level data set that would give you that kind of info. I'm looking at the user's guide because, so we have device types. So you could look at like LVAD, RVAD, BIVAD, but that's not going to give you the brand. There's a talk, again, kind of not trying to tie everything to AQO, that I did going over the steps to merge like some of those form data downloads I was talking about. So this would be pretty simple to go and grab your form level data, get the implant form, and get the explant form, and you could, based on the device ID, the event ID, merge that implant form with that explant form, and then you could subset that down to HM3s and look at the exchanges there. You're really, to do what you want to do, you're looking at really two columns, which is just the device brand and then the explant reason, which would be exchange. So it'd be pretty easy to link those two together. And I don't know, Emily's here. Emily, do we, like, after AQO has been passed for a little while, do we put any of those materials on the STS website, or is that always kind of behind like an AQO wall?
Yeah, it's for attendees only.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it'd be pretty simple for you to look that up and see how you could merge just two spreadsheets together, but also my email's in the chat now. So if you have issues with that, let me know. I can see what I can do to help out.
Thanks, John. All right, next question from Carson. Could you please review when it is appropriate to classify renal dysfunction as an adverse event, particularly when a patient has a prior history of chronic kidney disease or acute renal injury? So if the patient has a history of chronic renal disease, chronic kidney disease, we don't capture acute kidney failure post-implant. Let me know if that does or doesn't answer your question. Should comorbidities be a representation of past medical history or only what is relevant for previous follow-up to current follow-ups? This is a great question. So the answer is both. So some of the questions, as you're reading them, it looks like it applies to past medical history. So yes, is any of this, are any of these conditions in the patient's past medical history, and do they still apply? So one of the reasons why we don't carry that data forward from follow-up to follow-up is because, like in this situation, things change. patients, develop different conditions. And so we want you to consider what may be new at this follow-up. So the answer is you're going to consider what's in their past as well as what may currently be happening with the patient. Oh, okay. So John and Brandon, this is in follow-up to the HeartMate 3 exchange with the 1 year, or not the 1 year survival. The patient passes away. So does it count as 2 deaths?
No,
No, it's
no,
just
no.
one
So
death form. or
yeah, so
one
the
death
way
date.
things are linked, it'd be similar to follow up, right? So if you had an LVAD to LVAD exchange, then whichever device was in place at the time of an event is going to be the one that it's linked to. So if you had like a first device with a bleeding, that bleeding is going to be linked to the first device. But then if you have an explant and then you have a death, the death is going to be linked to the second device. So that's why I was suggesting that you look at like a more of a device level table, so not like a patient level table, because then you're going to be able to more easily link things on that device ID and see what's linked per device versus the overall patient.
Thanks, John. Hi, Cyrus. Hi, I'm trying to follow up on some of the issues highlighted in the Q1 2025 Intermacs data quality report, but I'm not clear on how to confirm that the data we have is correct. Okay. Actually, I think this may be one of our talks we're having at AQO. Sorry to say that, but there is a validation. So let me see here if I can show you. So right here on the Kirklin Solutions website, can you all see that, Nancy?
Yes.
Okay, so there is an option here for DQ report data verification. So if you click on this, you will put in your site information and put in, what quarter, what month, or excuse me, what report you're referring to, and you'll click submit. So it's right on the Kirklin Solutions website. Sometimes I do have people reach out to me once they review it and they want to just confirm that they have reviewed it, and they send me an email and then I forward those over to the reports team. So either way. Do we have any other questions?
Yes.
Ashley, hi Ashley.
Yeah.
Regarding comorbidities, say a patient had pulmonary hypertension, but on their most recent cath, their PA pressures are lower and now they don't have it anymore. Would we still answer yes, since they had it in the past, or go based off the new cath data and say no? Go based off the most recent data if it's not a condition the patient still has. All right, Carson, back to my question. What if a patient was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease prior to implant, but was not on dialysis, but post-implant had acute kidney injury and went on dialysis? Yes, that would be an appropriate event to capture, as long as they were, and I don't have the definition in front of me, I believe it's 90 days. So if it does escalate and the patient is now chronic renal and on dialysis for 90 days, then yes, I think it's 90 days. All right, good, Cyrus. I'm glad we got that. And Nancy, did you close out the polling question?
I did.
Okay, good.
I did. We got 12 responses.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah, so Nancy and I will review all of that, and we will speak as a group, those of us that are going to be speaking at the new data manager session at AQO, and we'll make sure we get everything addressed that you would all like to see.
We have another question related to comorbid conditions. Are we to determine if a condition has resolved versus if it's controlled with meds?
If the condition is still present, then yes, you would capture it, even if it's controlled with meds, if it's still a diagnosis they have.
And then if a patient has a history of pulmonary hypertension and is not on medical therapy for pulmonary hypertension, but last cath showed normal PA pressures, do we still say patient has pulmonary hypertension as they are receiving therapy?
No, no, because if it's not present anymore, then no, if it's not part of their current diagnoses. That's why I was saying that some of the questions do read as if you're asking about past medical history, but some of them read like, is this condition present since follow-up? So it is kind of both. Oh, so if they are still, well, if they're still receiving therapy, then yes, it's still a diagnosis. Yeah, it's just being controlled. I hope that answers your question, Deborah. Okay, good.
Hmm.
All right. Hi, Carl. I have a question regarding the timeout for the Intermacs site. It times out at a specific time whether you are actively working on a form and or not, and then you lose all the data you've entered. So I'm sorry about that. So there is, when you log into Intermacs, there is, I think, a countdown of 30 minutes. And if that's what you're referring to, yes, it will log you out if you don't click stay. Or yes, I'm still in here. Occasionally there are also, I'm sure some of you have seen the generic errors on the database that, you may have completed a form and then you click validate and save and you'll get a message that says generic error. So that's different. I think, Carl, you're talking about the countdown. Yeah, it's hard because if you're working on something and you get pulled away and then you go back, it will log you out. So you could always, if you're working on one of the lengthy forms, like the implant form, just maybe periodically click save for later, so that way that data will save. But if you're talking about the generic error message, next year we are updating the platform that Intermacs and Pedimacs are on, and that will eliminate the generic error message. Yeah, you can click on the clock and extend the time, and you just have to click that yes, you're still there working. When you are in a follow-up form, would it can be frustrating that the window dates and the expected date is not listed in the banner? Oh, is there a way to make this probably? Yeah. John, have we ever talked about that? So like on the
I
patient
know
side,
exactly. Yeah, I think that's a
yeah,
good
I think
suggestion
that
because you
would
can
be
see it on
nice.
the patient
Yeah.
overview, but you don't see it on the actual header that loads up with the import, like the implant date.
I think that's a great suggestion. I think that would be really helpful. Thank you, Christine. We'll take that back and make a suggestion. And yeah, maybe we probably can have that happen for the new platform upgrade next year. Okay, it was the countdown. Yeah, sorry. All right, well, we just here is our contact information for Nancy and myself. If you think of something after the webinar, you have a question about AQO, question about anything Intermacs and Pedimacs related, you can reach out to us. Here is our information. Any other questions before we wrap up? Well, thank you everybody for joining. It's a little bit shorter of a webinar today. But we will be back on our next webinar, October, I think it was the 29th.
I believe so.
Yeah, October 29th, we'll resume our monthly webinars. And then for those of you that are attending AQO, we look forward to seeing you there. And everybody have a great rest of your afternoon. And thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Question.
Thanks, Patricia. It was a great call. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.